So hello everybody, and good morning from Kenya. It might be different at your end, but it is 11 a.m. here in Kenya, Nairobi. Welcome at the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, Nairobi Nursery. This is a center that is taking care of orphan baby elephants and orphan baby rhinos, and later on reintroducing them back into the world. We do have other projects that we undertake as well, but the Nairobi Nursery hosts baby elephants before starting to reintroduce them back into the world. At the moment, we've got 12 baby elephants who are ranging from the age of 1 year old to approach. And the orphans, they've been orphaned from different parts of the country. They have different reasons for being orphans. And all this happened to the mothers when they're still very young, at an age where they would not have survived without the mother's milk. This is the age of 2 years and below. A young elephant out in the wild needs the mother's milk for the first 2 years minimum. And if they happen to lose the mother when they're below 2, they cannot survive. And so we rescue them, hand-rear them here for 3 years. And any time after the age of 3, we will start to reintroduce them back into the world. And we'll always reintroduce them to Tsavo East National Park and Kibwezi Forest. This process of reintroducing them back into the wild takes quite a long time, a minimum of about 5 years, a maximum of about 10 years. And it takes this long period because it depends on the different characters of different elephants. It depends on the reasons that have caused them to be left orphans. It also depends with their age when they became orphans. That's why some might take a shorter period in terms of 5 years at our base in Tsavo before they make friends among the wild herds who will invite them and adopt them. Others might take a longer period of about 8, 9, or even 10 years before they get adopted in a herd of wild elephants. And when that happens, we set them free and let them become wild. We can say by then we've achieved our target, because the main target here is to rescue them since they were found orphans, hand-rear them, and later on reintroducing them back into the world. Right inside Nairobi National Park, the elephants will be joining us anytime now, coming in smaller groups for easier feeding, depending on the number of keepers already. There's a group already coming in, being led by Nabulu, who is the second oldest that we've got in the nursery, who is 3 years old. And Nabulu was rescued from the Masai Mara when she was under a year old. She was identified all alone. She was very thin and very skinny. We could not find the mother or a herd of elephants close to her, which meant that she was an orphan. And this is because elephants or female elephants are very protective of the young ones. If you find one all alone, most likely something serious has happened to the mother, and that's why a baby can be left alone. Otherwise, they're always with the young ones. And so Nabulu being alone at the age of below a year old meant that she was an orphan and very thin, which meant that she had also stayed for some time without the mother's milk, and that's why she needed to be rescued. Right now, approximately 3 years old. Behind Nabulu is the youngest that we've got in the nursery, an elephant by the name Naleku, who is 1 year old, who attained a year old on 2nd of this month, who was rescued from the Masai Mara, who became an orphan after the mother had died from a natural disease. The baby left in the company of an auntie who was providing protection to her. But this auntie already had her own baby that was breastfeeding, which means she could not provide milk to Naleku, and Naleku would have eventually starved to death. So that is why it was important that she was rescued, trying to get into the waterhole now. We do have Kiombo here, who is almost 3 years. And Kiombo was rescued from the Masai Mara. He was identified all alone within the park as well, while at the age of about 10 months old, and that's why we rescued him. Then we have the main matriarch, an elephant by the name Maisha, who was running away with the bottle. And Maisha is over 3 years. Maisha was rescued from Tsavo Conservation Area. Her mother is believed to have died from starvation due to drought, and that's why she was left alone. Right now, she is approximately 3 years old, over 3 years. And since she's the oldest female, she takes over the leadership role, a position that is always handled by the oldest female in a herd of elephants, a position that comes on automatically when they're out in a group. Elephants have got their own languages, they communicate, they understand one another. Sometimes we can see them communicate, but we cannot understand what they're saying. So they know who is older and will all respect the oldest female. Far end is Maktau, at 2.5 years, second oldest boy, rescued from Sava Conservation Area near a place called Maktau, and a victim of human wildlife conflict. And that's why he became an orphan. Joining us now is an elephant by the name Mukoka, who is approximately 2 years. And Mukoka was rescued from northern part of Asavo East National Park, an area called Idumba, was identified by aerial surveillance on patrol, who identified him all alone within the park at a young age of about 7 months, who tried to observe him, hoping that the mother will rejoin or come back to collect the baby. But nothing happened, which meant that he was an orphan. And nobody could tell exactly the whereabouts of the mother and the rest of the family members, which is not normal for a 7-month-old baby to be found alone, which meant that he needed to be rescued. And that's why we brought him in the nursery right now, about 2 years old. He was only 7 months when he came in. Behind Mukoka is an elephant by the name Naboishu, who is approximately almost 2 years, who was rescued from the Masai Mara, whose mother is also believed to have died from a natural disease. And that's why Naboishu was left alone. Right now, Naboishu is approximately almost 2 years old, and so far are doing all right in the nursery. I do have Olorian, the latest arrival in the nursery and the second youngest, approximately 15-month-old, having been rescued from the Masai Mara, identified also alone, observed for some time, expecting the mother to come back and collect the baby, or the baby to be reunited in another herd of wild elephants, something that never happened, which meant that he was an orphan. And also at the same time, her condition was deteriorating very fast, which meant that she needed to be rescued. And that's why she came in the nursery right now, approximately 15 months, and adjusting well. Far end is an elephant by the name Roho, who is approximately 17 months, who was rescued from Savo West National Park, whose mother is believed to have been killed by poachers, and that's why Roho was left alone. Right now, Roho is approximately 17 months, and so far are doing all right in the nursery. We do have Ziwadi feeding at the far end, at 2 years old. And Ziwadi was rescued from the Masai Mara. She was identified all alone within the park and observed. Actually, when she was identified, nobody could tell where the rest of the family members were, and that's why she had to be rescued. When she came in the nursery, we tried to join her with the rest of the orphans around, but she kept on going a different direction, not wanting to join the rest, sometimes being left behind. And later on, we discovered that she's epileptic, and sometimes she goes into seizures. When that happens, she's left behind. So that might have been the reason to why she was left behind by the rest of the family members. So that's why we brought her here. We put her on medication. She has improved a lot. She's not had the seizures for a long time, which means she's improving well. We expect her to be back to normal and go back into the world when she's the age of 3 years or above. Roho trying to get water directly from the pipe in the mud bath. Last group joining us now. These are Kiasa in front and Laro behind. Kiasa is 3 years now. Kiasa was rescued from Savo when she was about 8 months, and her mother is also believed to have died from starvation because of drought, and that's why she was left an orphan. She's one of the elephants that is assisting Maisha Nabulu to take on the leadership role or the matriarchal role, or to be in charge of the rest of the group We do have Lara as well, who is approximately 2 years, who was rescued from the Masai Mara Olara Conservancy, who was identified alone and suspected to have been separated from her family by human beings. She was only 7 months old by then, right now approximately 2 years old, and so far are doing all right in the nursery. So that makes a total of 12 elephants, all the orphans that we've got in the nursery at the moment. They're being taken care of 24 hours, all day out in Nairobi National Park in the company of the keepers, and all night in the rooms with the keepers for those that are under the age of 2 years. And after 3 years, we take them to Savo, where we've got our keepers that will still monitor them. We've got 3 reintroduction centers within Savo Conservation Area. The northern part of Savo is a place called Idumba Stockades. Then we also have the Voi Stockades. Then we also have the Kibwezi Forest, where we reintroduce the orphans. Our keepers will monitor them until the time they join the wild herds and eventually go and totally become wild like any other elephant out there. If you're joining us now, welcome. We are at the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, Nairobi Nursery. This is where we take care of orphan baby elephants, rhinos, and later on reintroducing them back into the wild. Some of them are feeding on the greens, some are playing with the dust at the far end. We let the orphans do what they want while in the nursery because we want them to stay as much natural as possible, and that's why we spend a whole day out with them in the park so that they can learn what they need to learn as elephants. You can see some of them wanting to play with the dust at the far end. Not really warm enough for them to get into the water. If they decide to, you'll be able to see that rolling into the mud. But right now they want to enjoy the dust at the far end. Rojo already lying down in the dust at the far end. Laro lying down now, and Maktao trying to get the water from the water pipe directly. Olorian next to me, not wanting to join the rest. Mukoka trying to get into the water hole. Olorian being given some soft grass to feed on. Maktao trying to dust bath, not to dust bath, to get a mud bath, while everybody else is scared because of the cold. Maktao being assisted to have a dust bath by the keeper. Kiombo next to Maktao. Olorian discovering that she's not very strong enough to middle around right in the middle with the rest because she's still weak and thin. She wants to feed on her own, but when she'll be strong enough, she'll be joining all the rest and playing around with everyone else. So the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust does not only take care of orphan baby elephants and rhinos and setting them free back into the wild, but we've got other projects like mobile veterinary units, anti-poaching teams, our community projects. We go the aerial surveillance. And all this is taking place within Sava Conservation Area and working together with the Kenya Wildlife Service to ensure that all animals are safe out in the park. For example, our mobile veterinary unit will go out and treat any injured animal within the park. It is not necessarily on an elephant or a rhino, but any other injured animal. Once identified, our teams are conducted and they'll go to the scene, treat the injured animals and set them free to continue their own natural life. Sometimes it happens at an area where the cars cannot access easily. We've got a sky vet that will fly to the scene where the vets treat the animals and set them free to continue with their own natural life. We also have our anti-poaching teams that will patrol the parks, who are actually accompanied by the Kenya Wildlife Service Rangers, ensuring that there are no poachers in the parks, ensuring that there are no snares in the parks, there are no people burning charcoal in the parks, and ensuring that there is nothing happening in the park that should not be, so that all illegalities are sorted out by the rangers when they are patrolling the park. We also have a community project that will go around the communities that are neighboring the park and the reserve, educating them on how to coexist and stay together, neighboring one another with these wild animals. Sometimes the animals happen to break the fences, get into their farms. The people don't know how to behave or what to do. Our community project will educate them on how to behave, how to react, how to treat the animals, so that there are no conflicts, so that there are no injuries, either from the offer or from the animals or from the communities. The community project will also go around the schools that are neighboring the parks and the reserves, educating the children. When the children are still young, it is important for them to learn more about conservation and wildlife, because what they learn when they are still young will be remembered for a longer time. And that is why they need to know that all animals have the right to life, all animals need to be protected and cared for. And these animals should not be killed just because somebody is interested in the ivory, in the skin, or in the meat. They also need to learn and know that ivory is only good while on a live elephant. And that's why they should desist or educate or spread the word and inform their friends and the neighbors that animals need to be protected and cared for and set free in their own natural wild environment. That is what is done by a community project to the schools that are neighboring the parks and the reserves, educating the children. Our dog unit works together with our anti-poaching teams to ensure that there are no poachers in the parks and the parks are safe. So all that is working together with the Kenya Wildlife Service for the safety of all animals in general. Makta enjoying the dust at the far end, being joined by Laro. Lorian enjoying the dust right behind me. Ziwadi today decided to join and feed with the rest of the orphans, not going away, feeding in the crowd as well. So different reasons have caused all these babies to be left orphans, and human wildlife conflict is one of the major reasons that has caused most of them to be left orphans. And this is due to increase in the population of man or human beings compared to the space or size of land. And a few of them are here because of ivory poaching, and some are here because of natural reasons like old age, natural diseases, and starvation are back into the world. And all these happen to the mothers when the babies are still very young. at an age where they would not have survived, and that's why we rescued them. Remember, elephants need the mother's milk for the first 2 years, and if they lose the mothers when they're below 2, they cannot survive. Elephants will start to develop the milk teeth while at the age of between 2 to 4 months. Those teeth are not strong enough to feed on greens until the age of 8 months. That is when they learn to chew on some greens and drop it down. But after the age of a year, they start to chew and swallow some of the greens as well. But until the age of 2 years or over, that is when they can feed on enough to survive without the mother's milk. And that's why when they come in the nursery, we have to ensure that they are provided with the milk. And the milk that we are feeding them is not an alpha's milk, because we cannot milk a wild elephant. We feed them on a human baby formula, whose fats have been emulsified to make it easier for the babies to digest. And it took the founder of this place, the late Dr. Dame Daphne Sheldrick, about 28 years to discover that this is the right formula for them. And before that, she used the try and error method and lost most of the first orphans. Once she pioneered this formula, most orphans have survived and gone back into the world. And that is why it is believed to be close, the real mother's milk. Feeding them on intervals of 3 hours, day and night. One elephant takes a total of 24 liters of milk in a day for the big group of orphans that we've got in the nursery. The 3 tiny babies take about 14 liters of milk in a day. Elephants will start to perfect the use of their trunk after the age of about 8 months. Before that, they don't know, they're just learning. But after 8 months, they can perfectly suck the water in the trunk, bend the trunk into the mouth, and manage to blow the water into the mouth. They can properly grasp the greens with the trunk and put into the mouth after the age of about 8 months as well. Dusting themselves, enjoying the dust pile. Naleku right over there with the Laro. Rojo joining Naleku with a push. And if you're joining us now, we are at the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust Nairobi Nursery. And you can help support the work that is being done by the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust. You can do that by going on our website and finding out how you can donate. There are different ways you can do it. You can donate towards buying some milk for these baby elephants. You can donate towards adopting an elephant, which is costing a minimum fee of $50 a year. You can also donate towards the other projects that are being done by the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, like the anti-poaching teams, the community projects, the mobile veterinary units, the dog unit, the aerial surveillance that patrols the park to ensure that all is safe within the parks. So if you go on our website, you will be able to help save these lives by donating towards what you want or what you like that is being done by the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust. If you adopt an elephant, you can do it for yourself or as a gift to a friend. And if you do it as a gift, it is a gift recipient that will receive the updates every month. We will open an account and we'll be updating your account every month, letting you know all that is happening in the nursery. You also get a special watercolor painting, which is done by Angela Sheldrick. You also get a keeper's diary that is written every day by the keepers, telling different stories from different orphans. All that will be brought to your account on monthly basis online. So I'd also like to take this opportunity and thank you all for joining us at this 11 a.m. milk feed at the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust Nairobi Nursery. The elephants will be heading out in the park for the rest of the day until at 5 in the evening when they come back for bed. We set them free in Nairobi National Park, but the keepers will always accompany them to provide protection whenever needed or to assist whenever they need any assistance from the keepers. But we let them do what they want. So thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for supporting us. Remember to keep safe, because we all need to be safe in order to protect the animals. Thank you.